What's good, YouTube? It's your boy RDG, and I got something special for all my boxing fans that I've been working on for about a week, and I think y'all gonna enjoy this one. Throughout the years, there's always been skepticism on who the best fighter in the world is. Most of the controversy comes from the difference of weight classes. A term called PFP has been thought of to eliminate this. Before I get to the video, I want to explain what exactly PFP is. PFP stands for pound for pound. Now in boxing, you fight at different weight classes. So this PFP was made to determine the best fighter no matter what weight class you are in. For instance, when Floyd was the king of welterweights, as PFP king, this means he's the best fighter in the world no matter what weight class he's in. Some fighters take advantage of size differences like Canelo and guys like that. But PFP was thought of to eliminate that. PFP is the best fighter relative to their weight. It's ultimately used to compensate for weight classes. Now, I might have some guys on this list who you don't agree with, but that's the beauty in sports. If you feel some type of way about a certain fighter I have on my list, I would love to hear your input down in my comments. So without further ado, let's get right into it, boxing fans. At number 10, we have George Cambosis. George wasn't really on the scene before scoring a championship bout with Teofimo Lopez, and coming to this fight, he was a huge underdog. Many people, including Teofimo and his father, thought this fight would be over very soon. During this fight, he really impressed me with his chin. Being the smaller fighter, Lopez tried to overpower him early on, and Cambosis used Teofimo's aggression against him as he secured a first round knockdown, y'all. First round. Obviously, I feel like Lopez will eventually find his way back on the list as he's young and he's talented, but results don't lie. George Cambosis made a name for himself this night. He showed an insane amount of grit against a fighter who many thought would walk right over him. He'd been impressive over his first 19 fights, as no ordinary fighter just waltzed into 19-0, but Teofimo, it really propelled him as a fighter. Before Teo, he secured wins over guys like Lee Selby, Mickey Bay, but for this fight, that he pulled off the upset of the year, you're talented, man. And for this performance, Cambosis lands on my list at number 10. He finally gets the recognition as he secured the WBA, IBF, and the WBO belts, and this lands him at number 10. At number 9, we have Caleb Plant. Okay, I know what everyone is thinking. It's he just got knocked out, but I think context matters. He fought one of the best fighters to ever lace them up, and he put on a hell of a performance, but came up short in the end, and I think that speaks volumes. When you talk fight results, the outcome is not always a measuring stick. Caleb Plant gave Canelo a good fight for most of the night. He showed speed, quickness, and defense. Fighting Canelo, I think, helped his stock more than it hurt, because he showed something against Canelo that no one has ever shown since the Floyd loss, and that's the ability to fight him off your back foot. Canelo is an aggressor, especially when the guy he fights isn't as strong or as big. The reason he lost to Floyd was because Floyd was obviously the best fighter in the world, but number 2, because Floyd is the best at fighting off his back foot, which is a nightmare for any aggressive fighter. Caleb Plant just didn't have enough raw power to ultimately affect Canelo, but the skills Caleb Plant displayed were incredible, and for that, I put him at number 9. At number 8, we got my boy Shakur Stevenson from Newark, New Jersey. This may be too early as he's one of the most promising prospects in boxing right now, but after a dominating win over Jamal Herring, I think it would be utter disrespect to leave Shakur off any PFP list. At this point, he's shown that every time he steps into the ring, he gets better at something, whether it's pure boxing ability or his IQ or his power, which, by the way, is starting to come in, y'all. Jamal Herring, a former champion now, looked like he didn't belong in the same atmosphere as Shakur. Shakur literally dominated him. You don't just do that to champions without being an elite level fighter. I think it's time we stop using the age excuse and start recognizing this kid's ability. No matter how old he is, he has some of the best pure boxing I've ever seen. His pinpoint accuracy is relative to Floyd's, and his work ethic is second to none. The scary thing is that Shakur isn't near his physical prime yet. This kid has the potential to be one of the best ever, and for that, he comes in at number 8. At number 7, we got Vasyl Lomachenko, the old man. Obviously, the gut-wrenching loss to Teofimo was a big blow to his ranking, as many people saw him as a better boxer than Canelo at points. But since then, he's looked like a man on a mission. Top-tier footwork and hand speed will always prevail in the sport of boxing. A former top 3 pound-for-pound member, I think Loma is making one last push since he is about to turn 34 years old. He recognizes his window is closing, and he's taking full advantage of it since his fight against Teofimo. You can even say that's why Teo didn't want to honor a rematch. Maybe it was a fluke, maybe Loma was nursing an injury, but I think we can all see why Teo didn't want to get back in the ring with Loma. He dominated Nakatani and destroyed Richard Kami, and for this he comes in at number 7. And right here we can see him just dominating Richard. At some points in this fight, he even looked over at Richard's corner and said, "Throw in the towel. This dude cannot mess with me. Get him out of the ring with me before I seriously hurt him." At number 6, we got Tank Davis. Tank is someone who hasn't garnered a bunch of respect by the boxing elite because of his opponents. Many people say his promotional team, as you all may know, Mayweather Promotion, cherry picks his opponents and often gives him fights where there is a small chance of him losing. By cherry picking, I mean where he fights an old has-been or a Mexican fighter who doesn't have nearly as much skill. But the wins over Barrios and Leo Santa Cruz did enough for me to put him on my list and put him pretty high. He has some of the most devastating knockout power the sport has ever seen, which may also be a reason he gets the opponents he does. No one wants to fight him. Not many people in the world want to step in the ring with Tank Davis. His uppercut possesses a power that can knock your head clean off. He's also at an age where his physical maturation is starting to set in, meaning he's stronger than a lot of his opponents, and for this he comes in at number 6. At number 5, we have Alexander Usyk. Usyk fought at cruiserweight for most of his career before deciding to make the jump to the most dangerous division in the sport, a division with guys like Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. A career in cruiserweight in today's boxing game isn't really paying the types of dividends that a career in heavyweight is, and it looks like no man is too big for Usyk. Once jumping up, he fought Witherspoon and then he fought Chisora, which he made easy work of. He was then declared the mandatory for Anthony Joshua, a 6'6", 240-pound champion who a lot of people has deemed the next great in the heavyweight division. He stepped in and outboxed a guy 3 inches taller and nearly 30 pounds heavier to retain the WBA, IBF, WBO, and IBO heavyweight titles. This nearly flawless performance he displayed against one of the best in the division after coming up to a new weight class was second to none. Imagine a smaller guy coming to your house with no weapons and taking everything, including your dignity. This fight wasn't close, and not only did Usyk show he was the better boxer, he also showed that maybe he's been in the wrong division this whole time and missed out on a lot of money. And right here we can just see him dominating Anthony Joshua, jabs, combos, power. Anthony didn't stand a chance instead. Right here we just see him mauling AJ. AJ just looks like he doesn't want to be in there. You would think Usyk is the bigger fighter. At number 4, we have Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is probably the greatest modern day heavyweight. Wilder and Joshua are just simply not on the same level. And as a heavy Wilder fan, it pains me to say that. As Fury devastated Wilder fans such as myself in the trilogy, I could do nothing more than tip my cap, as we are witnessing the best heavyweight since Lennox Lewis. At 6'9", 270 pounds with hand and foot speed of a cruiserweight, it's hard for any fighter in history to step up to Fury. There's a huge gap between him and the next best heavyweight. The size difference alone is second to none, as I would argue that it's actually not even fair. But that's another video for another day. Super heavyweight. It's Fury's world and we're all just living in it. After coming back from a crack addiction and weighing nearly 400 pounds, he hasn't looked back. Tyson Fury showcases everything that an elite boxer can dream of. He has a rare combination of speed and power and the size of a modern day giant. And with that being said, he lands at number 4 on my PFP list. At number 3, we got my boy Big EJ. Now I know I may get some backlash for this, but Spence is still one of the best pure fighters we have in today's game. Obviously, the only thing that stopped him in this game has been the unfortunate events that has happened outside of the ring. A devastating car crash and nearly blinding eye surgery in the span of 2 years is not ideal for any professional athlete. He hasn't been in the ring since December of 2020, after he beat Danny Garcia in a convincing fashion. But I still think he has the tools that no one else possesses. His precision and power at the welterweight division is some of the best ever, and probably good that Pacquiao didn't see him, because he would have sent him in an early retirement. I'm talking about mid-fight. He has a lot to prove in his next fight against Ugas. His track record still speaks for itself, beating Cale Brook, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Lamont Peterson, and Ocampo. That resume is still a grade A resume, so I can't just drop EJ off my list. And for that, he comes in at number 3. Right here we can see him after the car crash. He didn't put Danny Garcia down. He beat him. And he beat him pretty bad. At number 2, we got my boy Big Bud Crawford. Some could say that he lacks opponent strength, but after dismantling Sean Porter the way he did, and his last 7 fights ending in a TKO or KO, I think at this point Bud Crawford is arguably the best fighter in the world. There's still a major question mark with him and Spence, but after Spence out of the ring issues, I think the only right decision at this time is to put Bud above him. We could see an influx in opponent strength as it's reported that Bud has officially left Top Rank. They've undermanaged him since he signed with them. Obviously, the number one fight on everyone's mind is Errol Spence versus Bud Crawford. Do we get that in 22? I hope so, but overall, Bud comes in at number 2. And what we've all been waiting on, numero uno, Saul Canelo Alvarez. This should come as no surprise. Defense, power, speed, you name it, and he has it. A lot of controversy around his name, such as testing positive for PEDs, not wanting to fight black fighters, and having biased judges. But any boxing fan can look at Canelo and see this is the best fighter in the world. Before he fought Caleb Plant, everyone said if anyone could beat him, Caleb Plant can, and he knocked him out. After leaving 154 and jumping up to light heavyweight, a division many consider the weakest in boxing, he cleaned out the division. And now he's jumping up again to cruiserweight to take on Makaba. Makaba, y'all. Makaba is a cruiserweight, which is at 200 pounds. Canelo started at around 147, 154. That's a 50-pound difference. Canelo is being subject to something I call greatness haterade, which is someone being so great that many people find flaws in order to go against the eye test. It happened to Floyd, it happened to Pacquiao, it happens across every sport. I've always told myself that if an athlete garners so much hate, yet garners a number of accomplishments respective to their sport, they're the best. After losing to Floyd nearly a decade ago, he has gotten better in every skill possible in the sport of boxing. Canelo is the most complete fighter. Right here, we saw him dominating Gennady Golovkin, who they probably say, the judges swayed in Canelo. They gave him the wins. But if you watch the fight, I think Canelo displayed he was just the better boxer. You can say he won't fight Charlo or he won't fight Andrade, but they've said this with his past 5 fights. Canelo is the best fighter in the world. Now I want to thank y'all for coming out to my video to check out what I'm talking about. For all my boxing fans, I told y'all I had something ready for y'all. If y'all like this boxing, drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe, do what y'all do. Let's go, let's get it. It's your boy RDG.